What do you think about Hamas?
I will not. You're not asking the right questions. It's the wrong question. I think that we can't equate the colonizer with the colonized. We can't equate the occupier with the occupied. It implies that these are equal parties, and it's not equal parties.
So you feel like violence is a reaction to oppression?
Yes.
But they also have the moral right to defend themselves against their colonizers and their occupiers. And this is something that we really need to focus on as a media. And instead of painting Palestinians and dehumanizing them and demonizing them and putting all these anti-Arab and anti-Muslim tropes against them, which the West has been imposing to justify the ethnic cleansing that Israel has already done and will continue to do. So this is something that we need to focus on and say the Palestinians are there defending themselves as part of a revolutionary struggle for liberation.
We need our countries back. That's it.
Free Palestine. From the land, From the land to the sea. Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea.
From the river to the sea, that's right. Yeah, from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free.
And what can you tell us about the history of Hamas? Like, for those who don't know, what is Hamas?
Hamas is, as I said, an Islamist organization. It was founded in 1987 during the first uprising against Israeli occupation. It won elections actually in 2006 and then took over the Gaza Strip in 2007. And the relationship between Hamas and Israel has been very, very fraught. There have been confrontations back and forth over time. But it's not only Israel that Hamas has a problem with. Running the West Bank is another Palestinian group called the Palestinian Authority. And Hamas and the Palestinian Authority don't get along very well. And I always like to tell my students that it's like a married couple that's getting a divorce. Half the time they talk about reconciliation, half the time they want to kill each other.
There's kind of been a strange discourse online defending Hamas and saying, violence is only a reaction to oppression.
Yeah, I don't see it that way. Frankly, there have been organizations that have been committed to violence, for example, that decided at a certain point what they would try to do would be to work things out. Look at the IRA, for example, in Ireland. Look at the African National Congress, for example. So that the murder of civilians is never justified. And those civilians could be Israeli civilians, those civilians could be Palestinians in Gaza. It's just not justified to target civilians.
Mm-hmm. The idea is, people are saying, oh, well, it's not unprovoked. Israeli soldiers have been doing this for decades.
Right. There is that. There's also the idea that everybody is a cog in the war machine in Israel, or everybody's a cog in the settlement policies of Israel. But that would be like saying that, because I work for the state of California, I'm responsible for Guantanamo.
Right, for sure.
I'm not.
I would imagine as well, it would be like a bunch of Native Americans coming off the reservation and just massacring white people in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, although basically, if you look at history, of course, it's gone mostly in the opposite direction.
Of course.
Yeah.
But the justification for killing civilians is that these civilians are under a regime that is oppressive, so therefore they have to inherit the burden of that.
Well, they're not just under a regime. They participate. Their work and their activities let that regime continue. And so therefore, I've heard this, with 9/11, for example, that all the people working in the Twin Towers, for example, were just cogs in this capitalist machine and so on and so forth. No, they were mothers and fathers, and they were children, and they were, relatives of people. They had lives outside of their work. And, basically, this is no way to accomplish anything.